The revolution is here and we're the change. That is a quote from Culture. And this quote addresses one of the main reasons I created Hippie Fari, the beautiful, life-changing message of reggae music. It was created for social change, and its message is as strong today as it was in the 60s when the first reggae records were released in Jamaica. So welcome to another episode of Hippie Fari Reggae Radio and Podcast, recorded live in the Omen Honey Reggae Radio and Media Studios in beautiful Daytona Beach, Florida. I am your host, Scotty the High-Strung Hippie, and Hippie Fari is a podcast where we discuss all things reggae. So if reggae music is your thing, you're in the right place. So tonight we have some incredible guests in the studio. Tonight we're tapping into the next wave of reggae rock fusion coming out of the Carolinas. A sound that's soulful with tracks like Streetwalker, then our new release Wiper Blades, and my personal favorite, and I'm sure it's a lot of folks' personal favorite, Toke It. They're full of roots vibes and lyrical fire. From high school jam sessions to festival stages across the country, and 2 full-length studio albums, as well as an EP in 2021 with the man Melodose. Shout out Melodose. Tonight's guests have carved a lane that blends heavy grooves with melodic storytelling, pushing the boundaries of what reggae definitely can be. With a lineup tighter than ever and new music that's lighting up the scene, they've got the crowd chanting and critics paying attention. So lock in your senses and raise that frequency. We're about to chill with one of the most dynamic bands shaping the modern roots landscape. So welcome to the studio, Sons of Paradise. What's going on, guys? How we doing?
We're happy to be here.
Awesome, man. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your, I know, very busy schedule to come on the show. We definitely appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries.
That was a great intro. You might have to steal that from
Yeah.
Yeah, right. 100%, man. It's all yours.
Use it for
Can you do me a favor real quick and just kind of introduce yourselves, give us your names and what you do in the band?
Sure. I'm Matt. I'm the singer.
What's up, Matt?
Yo. Go ahead, Joe.
He's much more than a singer. He's being humble. But I'm Joe. I play lead guitar.
Keep it simple for now.
I'm Jordan. I do the keys.
Pleasure, guys. Thank you so much once again for coming on the show. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started, man. Can you just kind of take us back to Raleigh? Like, how did the high school friendship evolve into Sons of Paradise?
I'll take that one.
Yeah, so Matt and I here met, I guess almost 20 years ago, probably 17, 18 years ago now. And I was a senior in high school, and he was a junior. This is a couple years into us meeting, and
Right.
we got approached to being in a reggae band. I had been in a couple bands before. I'd wanted to be in a band again, and I wasn't in one currently. I knew nothing about reggae. Matt was from Southern California. He knew a good bit, and we were approached about being in a Bob Marley cover band, and I jumped all over it and fell in love with the genre. But we were actually in high school band together, so we had music experience.
Everybody in the original lineup was all in high school band. So we're all like classically trained musicians, and most of us were into reggae. Jordan was into reggae, but I knew he played keys, so I was like, he wanted to be in a band. I was like, I know he'll do it. And then we got my brother to play bass, and we actually had 2 other singers at the time, and a drummer. Yeah, I was just the guitar player at the time.
Right on. So a Bob Marley cover band?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Did that kind of like, did that go anywhere or?
Not
No.
really.
No.
The first thing we did when we got in, first thing I did was like, nope, we're not being a cover band. Like,
Right.
we'll learn covers, we'll play covers, but like, we got into writing original music very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Almost immediately.
And we would record stuff. We'd put stuff on our MySpace and reverb
Right?
Yeah.
pages.
Yeah, that tells our age. I remember MySpace. Damn.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was like the big thing artists would release on back then outside of like CDs.
Yep. Certainly. Right on, guys. Well, thank you so much for that. So it's definitely an awesome name. It exudes strength without a doubt. What's the story behind the name? Was it like a moment of inspiration or just kind of like trial and error and you were like, yeah, it just sounds good. Let's go with it.
To be honest, it was a necessity to change the name because originally our Bob Marley cover band name was Jamaican Rhapsody. And it it never sat well with us not being Jamaican.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was a big sticking point with one of the members that was the lead singer at the time. And it just never felt right with us putting Jamaican in the name. And he was like under the impression that, this, name describes the type of music we play, but we didn't feel authentic to that name not being Jamaican.
Right.
So we really changed the name out of a necessity, and the original singer ended up pretty much leaving because of it. So that was the mindset at the time. There was no like super grand meaning to the name. It was to have something that was more authentic to who we were.
Right on. Well, it's definitely a fantastic name. Once you hear it, you definitely remember it, and it does. It's absolutely perfect for what you guys are doing.
Awesome.
So the early chemistry between you guys, did that like shape your sound from the jump, or was it kind of organic when you got into it? After going from the cover band to doing originals, or were you like, we're gonna go from a Bob Marley cover band, we're definitely gonna do reggae, this is what we're gonna sound like, or did it just kind of organically come?
It was pretty organic. I feel like we said, we were all in band together, so we'd all been playing with each other. Like some of the original members I've been playing with for years before we finally got into this band together. So we kind of had the chemistry, and the songs kind of came about pretty naturally, right?
Yeah, me and him sat next to each other playing saxophone together. So we had chemistry from like, different types of music, different types of instruments.
Sure.
It was really cutting our teeth on the songwriting and then really getting in and learning how to play reggae.
Yeah.
When we first started playing, we did not know how to play reggae. We didn't know what a skank was, a chuck, what a bubble was.
Right.
We knew the timing.
Drop, none of that.
We knew the timing of the music. We knew the chords, but like really learning the correct ways to play it authentically was a challenge at first. But once we kind of got over that hump, we really were able to take off in terms of like the stylistic sense.
Sure. That's awesome. You guys do a really fantastic job at, you would never know that you actually didn't know how to play reggae when you decided you wanted to play reggae.
Yeah. We're up for teenagers, so we got into it really early.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well,
because back then there wasn't like any of the bands that are now. Like there was like 5 big reggae bands, and and there wasn't a lot of resources out there to like learn how to play reggae guitar or bubble. So we kind of just figured it out by listening.
Right. Absolutely.
And it's cool to see how a lot of those bands, where they're at now, the Revolutions and the Stupids. And
sure.
The movement and all that. It's crazy.
Yeah, how big they've gotten. I mean, they've broken into the mainstream. It's incredible. Yeah, absolutely.
Watch.
So when in 2023, when Joe and Storm joined the band, how did that shift or level up the dynamic of the band?
I don't want to speak for Jordan, but to me, it really made the band have a downturn in the sound quality.
Right? Yeah.
I was going to say, I heard you say level up, and I'm like, oh, I like that.
Yeah.
We should do that more often.
No, it obviously, I mean, if you want to take this one, guys, but.
I mean, I can only speak for being in the band for the past couple of years. I don't know what really Sons of Paradise sounded like too much before Ian Storm joined the band, because I try not to listen to that stuff, actually. No, I think it was obviously a cool opportunity. I think it's cool that Matt and Jordan already had this established thing going on, and that Storm and I played together a ton around like the Raleigh area. And it was cool that I already had the chemistry with him. So we kind of were a bit of a package deal in a way, kind of, when we came together.
Nice.
So he already had that chemistry. And obviously Matt and Jordan and Connor already had the chemistry from years back. So it was pretty cool to be able to jump into a team that was already established like that,
Yeah, it was like, to shed a little more light on it, it was a strange time because Connor, or the bass player that we originally started with, he wasn't playing with us. He kind of jumped back in after taking years off. He kind of jumped back in at the same time Storm and Joe joined the band. So it was nice getting Connor, who had that experience with us, back.
Yeah.
But we actually lost our drummer. Like, he died unexpectedly in April of 2023, and we were supposed to be on the road with a band called Sun Dried Vibes. We had a 2-week tour with them.
I'm very familiar with Sun-Dried Vibe, Jeff.
Yep. And it was completely canceled. And at that time, our current bass player and guitarist weren't long-term fits either.
Right.
It was basically just Matt and I. And, you know, I went to a bar like a week after our drummer Parker's unfortunate passing. And I saw him play, and I knew in the back of my head, like once we got things up and running again, if we ever got things up and running again, we were going to need a lead guitarist. And I saw this guy playing at this bar I go to in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I just asked him, hey, are you playing in any bands? And he was just
actually just got kicked out of a band that was in. I was playing a country band. And as a guy from Boston who's never heard of George Strait until he moved to North Carolina, I didn't fit in with them anyway. But I saw Jordan kind of eyeing me at the edge of the bar, and the guy I was playing with, I was like, you see that guy staring at me at the edge of the bar? It's kind of weird, right? I was like, he's a musician, or he's going to ask for my number at the end of this. Ended up being both. But, yeah, he came over and he was like, hey, you know, we're Sons of Paradise, and I've never heard of them, but the guy I was playing with has heard of them. And he, you know, showed me some of the stuff that they had lined up, and he's like, yeah, we need a lead guitar player. I think he'd be perfect. And I was like, all right, cool. He's like, we also don't have a drummer right now. And I was thinking, you don't have a drummer or a guitar player. What kind of band are you? And we didn't play at the time. Yeah. So, but, you know, he told me that, you know, Jordan told me to come by, like, I think probably that Monday. It was probably Thursday we met. That Monday I came over and jammed. And the first song they asked me to jam on was Fire on the Mountain. I was like, oh, that's good. Yeah, Big Deadhead, that works out for me.
We did a reggae style, Fire on the Mountain, kind of Roots of Creation style.
Test out his chops.
Yeah. And Matt and I looked at each other. We're like, yep, we got one member down. You know, we have a few more to fill, a couple more spots to fill, but you know, we have the guitar taken care of, and it's been smooth ever since. And then Joe brought along Storm probably a month or two later, because Storm was still in App State at the time.
Right.
And he decided after his, you know, Storm's a good bit younger than us, and he decided after his freshman year he was going to take online classes, move back to the area we're at. And then we made a call to Connor, and he was living up in New Jersey at the time. He's a military pilot, actually, our bass player.
Wow.
So his schedule's kind of all over the place, and he set me down to kind of fill in for a little bit. And then the first show we all played together, I believe, was Weekend at Wolfie's.
Wait, no, that was still Rusty.
Oh, Rusty from Trail.
Yeah.
But pretty much the summer, about 2 summers ago, we kind of got everything sorted away, and it's been pretty smooth since.
So you guys moved quick, man. Just in a short time. I mean, you went from, you know, everything kind of caving in on you to, I mean, making it happen again pretty fast. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it was
takes
kind
a
of
lot of drive.
I think for us personally, like, it's what Parker would have wanted.
Sure.
He would never have wanted us to stop. And it was kind of the best thing for us to keep, you know, our minds occupied and to pay respects to him. And we threw an incredible benefit show to Parker, a remembrance show.
Yeah.
That we were able to celebrate his life. And it was a very emotional time. And it was great to be able to honor him in that way. But
That's awesome,
it was the best for us to do, is just to keep pushing.
100%. Thank you for sharing that, dude. Definitely appreciate it. That's never easy to deal with. And then when you bring it back up again,
that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You see it happen with other artists and other people and other aspects of life, and you just don't think it's gonna happen to you. And then you get that call, and it does, and everything kind of gets put into perspective immediately.
Yes. That, I mean, absolutely, man. Life is certainly short. I know it's cliche, but, live each day like your last, because you never know, man. But thank you so much for sharing that. That's amazing. What you guys have done from then to now, too, definitely, I'm sure would make him extremely proud. That's so awesome. Now, your sound blends reggae, rock, definitely some smooth lead guitar, some killer hooks. How would you describe that to someone who has never heard Sons of Paradise before?
It's a tough question. I think we're a band, so each member kind of brings something unique. It's not like some artists now where it's just the singer and they're like kind of the guy, and then the band is just kind of backing them. Like, everybody in our band has a huge impact on the sound. And so I'd say we're like this new weird thing. I don't know what people want to call it. It's like reggae adjacent, whatever this reggae.
Yeah, reggae adjacent's a big one now, a big term.
Yeah.
I
I feel like we're on the like edge of this new genre that we don't even know what it is yet. And
right.
We're all kind of just discovering it. So whatever that is, that's what we are. And we've got so many different influences. And with these new singles coming out, I think we really wanted to try to have each one sound a little bit different and have something for everybody. You know, our first one hits different, kind of has like almost like a old school like doo-woppy vibe.
Right.
And Wiper Blades is pretty hard rock. And then
yes, Wiper Blades is great, by the way.
Thank you. And then Backroads is more that pop. So
right,
we're just kind of exploring it.
That's awesome. And but you still carry that, which I love. I mean, you still carry that roots vibe, you know, in what you do, which is awesome. I wouldn't call it an undertone. I mean, but you definitely you carry it, which is fantastic. You know what I mean?
I kind of look at it is that the drum and bass, especially the low end, like the kick drum and the bass, are carrying a lot of the roots elements, and that's like true roots. Like a lot of those
100%, man.
And then on top is the fluff. That's where the pop stuff is, the hooks. So that's kind of how we piece that puzzle together.
Yeah. Well, you guys do a great job of it, man. The puzzle looks absolutely fantastic. Or sounds fantastic.
Looks good too.
Yeah, that's okay.
Right? Yeah. If you're tuning in via audio, you definitely have to watch the video. These guys are hilarious. So what's the non-reggae influences that have like kind of maybe seeped into your writing or your live performances?
Well, I mean, I think maybe some of me, because when I met Jordan, like I told you about earlier, I didn't know anything about reggae. I knew Bob Marley and I knew Sublime, and that's about it.
Right.
Which is honestly kind of awesome in the same way, because like I grew up with like, classic rock and listening to Clapton and Jimi Hendrix, right?
Sure.
Being an art player. But now, like, I didn't even know Revolution was a thing until a couple years ago. So now it's all new to me, which is great. And I can learn more like, oh, this is where these guys get some influences from. This is, let me listen to this. So it's kind of cool being able, for me personally, to like listen to all this whole new genre for me that they kind of roll their eyes. I'm like, you guys heard the Elevators? They're really good. And like, yeah, no shit, Joe. But it's cool for me. So I think, Storm can probably kind of say something similar. Storm was kind of, metalcore type of kid, right? And really,
I love metalcore too. A huge death metal.
He's got some of those roots and influences, but he knew a little bit more about reggae than I did going into it. So I think that, maybe me and Storm add a little something of the rock side to the reggae rock I'm trying to do now. Just cool to be a part of. So
I think for Matt and myself, if you listen to our music and the production in particular, there's a lot of EDM influences, not purely on the drum and bass and on the lows, but if you listen to what the synths are doing, how we automate a lot of things, how we particularly use risers very frequently. A lot of reggae bands aren't using risers a ton and fallers as much. If you listen to someone like Stick Figure, he's very EDM influenced in his music. We've taken some stuff in that realm. And then lyrically, I think it's a blend from all types of music. Like I think lyrically our lyrics aren't super like roots driven at all. I think they're like alternative.
Sure.
I think they used to be a little more rootsy, and now we're getting a little bit away from that.
Right. That's awesome. Well, it's cool that you bring up EDM and you brought up like metalcore. I was a huge death metal fan, and then I had a techno record label for like 7 years.
Oh wow.
A while back when I was younger, but always been a reggae head, but I went through the, I went through the motions too. So I can appreciate all of it. I really like it.
If you were to like go into like our sessions and strip down the tracks and we took out the reggae like elements and we took out the lyrics, you'd be like, wow, this could be a completely different genre, but it just happens to fit really nicely over what we're doing.
Yep. Absolutely. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it, man. It's coming together absolutely fantastic. And I definitely think people have noticed before. I mean, your songs are upwards of almost 1 million plays on a couple of your tracks on Spotify, and that's just Spotify. So it's definitely, it's definitely getting that traction. It's fantastic. So do you intentionally aim to push those reggae boundaries, or I don't know if I asked this questioned in a different way before. But that's just when you get together from the different backgrounds, it just naturally comes out.
Yeah, to me, I'm
Yeah.
consciously trying to push the boundaries for sure.
Right on.
I love reggae. Like I kind of grew up with it. But to me, a lot of it's already been done. So I kind of want to bring a fresh take on it. So we're intentionally trying to push the boundaries on a lot of that.
That's awesome, man. I like that answer because a lot of bands are like, "No, it's just organic." You're like, "No, we're doing it on purpose." I like that though. You know what I mean? Because you're doing it on purpose, and then you're doing it right. So you're setting out to do something, and you're actually achieving what you're setting out to do. That's really cool, man.
And some of our stuff, it's like, damn, it's so far away from reggae. We need to throw like some type of skank on it.
Throw something on.
Right.
Like bring it back to make it make sense to what we're trying to do. Because we are a reggae band first and foremost. But
sure. But
there are some tracks that they're gonna do better if it's a little more reggae, since like the rest of our music is reggae. So we gotta have to like kind of go back and be like, how do we tie this into more so of what we
like Hits Different was one like that.
Yeah,
it's like, how do we make this a little more reggae? Like,
yeah,
right.
Any reggae elements that ever, and then we ended up adding them towards the finalizing the track, just so it can fit in this genre. Because if we were just to come out, with something that was completely out of the genre, it's just not going to do well,
right,
for our fans.
Sure, you never know though, man. It might blow up in a different genre, and then they go to listen to the rest of your stuff. They're like, wait a minute.
What?
That's funny, man. Well, that's absolutely fantastic. You guys have, you're not just a Carolina band. You've played some pretty intense festivals, man. Reggae Rise Up in Florida and Vegas. What was that experience like? I've been to Rise Up in Florida. It's a lot of fucking people, man. From playing at like a smaller venue in North Carolina to being on a stage at Reggae Rise Up with that many people. What's that experience like, man? Was there any like standout moments for you?
Definitely a lot of standout moments.
Yeah.
I mean, I could just chime in real quick. When I'm not playing with these guys, I try to play local bars. But we hopped in a van and drove across the country, play in, do Reggae Rise Up Vegas, right? And then we a couple places in California, and we come back. And that weekend, I played at a bar for about 8 people. And then I jam and I hear. So it definitely has a good balance where, sometimes you kind of get like, oh yeah, we're the shit, man. We just did Reggae Rise Up Vegas. And then you come back and you're like, well, you kind of still ain't shit yet because you just played at some local bar in, Raleigh, North Carolina. Nobody gives a shit. So I get a good balance of it to remind me. But I mean, all those moments stick out. There's things you'll remember for the rest of your life when we play those shows,
Yeah,
absolutely. 100%, man.
And when we went out to Vegas, we didn't like route across the country playing shows. So we literally went to Vegas in a straight shot. Like Joe said, we played shows after in California to make it like kind of worth the time of that drive. But we made it from Raleigh, North Carolina to Oklahoma City, basically in a straight shot, like 19 hours. And then we made it the next day from Oklahoma City to Flagstaff, Arizona. And we could have made it in Vegas from North Carolina in 2 days. But we decided to like post up. Like it was so efficient, but it was like the most beautiful scenic travel we've ever experienced.
I'd never driven across the country.
No.
I don't think Storm had been across like the Mississippi.
Yeah.
I haven't either. I've flown, but never driven.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
So once you get past like the Arkansas area, Arkansas is kind of tough.
Sorry.
But once you get past that area into like the desert, it's just such a scenery that we're not used to seeing at all. And it was unbelievable.
That's awesome, man. How does your approach change when you're playing giant festivals like that? I know you just kind of spoke on it, but versus a smaller venue, do you approach it differently, or you go just straight, head first into no matter what you're doing?
I mean, performance-wise, yeah, it's no different. I guess if the crowd is light versus heavy, there might be differences in how you're working the crowd. And then from a show perspective, if we're doing a festival, it's going to be a shorter set probably. So we're just throwing all our bangers at
Sure.
people. And then if it's more of a hometown show, we might have 2 hours to fill, and we can kind of get more creative and do some longer jams and stuff like that.
Nice. Yeah, that actually makes sense. I play in a band. I never even really thought about it that way. When, you know, you're doing the festival setting, it's a lot shorter set, so you're just bam, 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 bam. But yeah, the bar shows sometimes are 2, 3, maybe even 4 hour sets. So you're just kind of
That's your time, like
doing all that fun stuff.
that's your time to test stuff, like
Yep.
test.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, like he said, when you're playing a festival, you're hitting them with what you know is your best stuff.
Sure. 100%, man. So you guys, you've definitely been dropping you dropped some new stuff recently. I know you're working on some new stuff as well. Let's kind of talk about that. What is your inspiration for the current wave of you know, music that you just released in your upcoming releases?
I mean, to me, I kind of just get inspiration from random places.
Okay.
So each song's kind of different, and I think that's why these songs all kind of sound different.
Right.
A lot of the songs on this record we co-wrote with Greg Shields at Cashed Out, and
Nice.
a couple of them were written in California with him. So there's definitely like a different vibe to those, and then some of the other ones we wrote remotely with him, and those kind of have a vibe. But yeah, to me, inspiration just strikes randomly. It's not like from one thing.
Sure. Awesome, man. Is there a particular song that you guys have coming out that you feel kind of best represents where the band is right now that you don't mind sharing? Maybe if it's not released yet, you can
I
just
bet
kinda
we
give
all
us
have a different answer for that.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
I don't know if like it represents where the band is at, like one specific song is going to do that, but I think the one we all feel the best about, and I don't know when this is dropping, this podcast, but the one we feel the best about collectively as a group is Backroads, and it's with Cashed Out.
Nice.
Fields wrote a verse. We actually just announced it that it's going to be out this Friday. So Friday, May 30th, that's going to be the release of Backroads. It's super beachy, catchy, poppy, and we
Nice.
think it's probably
good
going to
one.
be the biggest song
We've been
done.
sitting on it for a minute and just waiting for the right time to release it. So
Right before summer. That's awesome, especially the way you just described it. I mean, perfect.
yeah, so we're pretty stoked about that one for sure.
And then we have a bunch of other releases we're going to be trickling out throughout this year and next year. And each one, again, is a different vibe. So it's kind of hard to pick one that kind of categorizes it all. That might be Wiper Blades.
Right.
Maybe,
We're
yeah.
kind of going to combine them because Backroads is probably a lot different than anything we've ever done. So that's why it's also exciting.
That's awesome, man. Right on. I'm definitely looking forward to hearing it. I'm sure all the folks are. Now, I know you had mentioned that there's some EDM thrown in there, some aspects. You know, if you took the reggae out, it'd be a completely different genre. Are there any new sounds or production techniques that you guys kind of experimented with on the new tracks that are coming out? Like any new stuff that you haven't in the past?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's definitely some. The way I kind of treat like writing songs in studios time is I'm trying to learn something new from each song and each thing I'm doing. I'm always going to try a different technique. So there's a lot of that going on. One of the biggest things I noticed from the Movement's last album was that they were stacking their drum layers with like live drums and then like digital drums. And they didn't exactly like line up perfectly, but that kind of is what made them cool.
Right.
So I think on this album, we've done a lot of digital drums where we have live drums on top, mostly just for like vibe.
Nice.
And that's sounded pretty cool on a lot of the stuff. Like Backroads has a lot of that. So a lot of layering of different drum samples and then like different drum grooves, just different like hi-hat patterns on top of other hi-hat patterns and the shakers and just like stuff that shouldn't work together, but it just kind of does. And it just
That's
kind of
awesome.
full groove. And shout out to the Movement on that last album. They crushed all that. And I
It's
learned a
been very
lot from that.
inspirational.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
he mixed
Yeah, I did
a
a
remix.
remix on one of their tracks. What track?
Give
was
me
that?
the loot. High Roller.
High Roller, yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Nice.
got all the stems from them, and when I got the stems, I was like, "Oh my god! Like this shouldn't work. Like why does this work? Like And I was like, okay, this is really making me rethink of everything. Because I used to be like, okay, the click is the king, and it has to be on the beat or it's not in the song. Like,
Right.
just kind of takes away from some of the humanized like aspects of it. So
Sure.
always learning.
That's awesome, man. Very cool. Yeah, and the movement, definitely shout out to them, man. Seeing them live was phenomenal, man. You can hear them all day long on, your favorite streaming platform, but actually seeing them perform live is like, oh shit, man. Yeah.
We've seen them, like, we're from the Carolinas. They're like the biggest reggae band from the Carolinas.
Yep.
So we've seen them literally like 15 years plus.
Yeah.
So it's insane to see like the journey they've taken.
Yeah.
The reiterations they've done and how they've constantly reinvented themselves.
Yep.
And I thought they wouldn't have been able to top Ways of the World, and then to like self-produce Always With Me, and even like up Ways of the World.
Insane.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
great.
They're absolutely phenomenal, man. Another band that, kind of blows my mind. I had Harrison Stafford from Groundation on, and he was talking about their recording, how they record. They still do analog, 10 members, one take. You know, nobody messes up. He's like, you're not allowed to mess up in the recording studio. That's it, because it's one take, dude. I got to redo it. We got to redo all this analog tape and all that. It's very expensive. And I was like, damn, that's
That's not us.
That's not us.
Well, I don't think that's anybody, really, except them. But it was just that's phenomenal.
I mean, you could definitely get that traditional like roots reggae sound that way. That's a good way to do it for sure.
Absolutely, man.
I like being able to edit and go in and just mess with things. Like sometimes they'll record something and I'll pitch it or reverse it or just do random, try stuff out. That's kind of that influence.
Yeah, I can imagine doing a podcast that way. It's like first take. I mean, I go in, I got to edit it. I got to make sure it sounds right before I put it out.
Yeah, and then not only you have to be perfect, but 10 people have to be perfect.
That's insane.
Right.
At the same time.
Yeah, that's
cool.
It's definitely pretty wild.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the guys that make it happen like that. That's phenomenal, man. But with you guys having 5 members, man, how do you manage a creative input? Is it like a democratic thing? Do you vote, or I mean, I don't want to make it weird, but does somebody just kind of lead the charge and you're like, look, this is the way it's going to go. We can't figure it out. We're doing it this way. That's it.
Kind of have 6 members now because we have a sax player, Matt Corey. Shout out Matt Corey. He doesn't make every show work, but he makes most of them work, and he's probably the best member of the band. Not probably, definitely the best member of the band.
Nice.
He's great.
But I think with all aspects of the band, there's like one person that probably has the most to say, but everyone else has their input. At the end of the day, Matt and I have been doing it the longest. We founded the band. We've been doing this for like 15 years.
Sure.
So we're going to make the final decision, but we listen to everyone's input. And when it comes to inside the studio, on each person's actual instrument, that person's going to have a lot of say on what they're doing too. But when it comes like the final stuff, when it comes to like music production, we kind of lean on Matt. When it comes to like
business stuff,
overall strategy, they'll probably lean more so on me, but we run things by everyone.
That's awesome, man. So speaking of you mentioned this. Oh, go ahead. What's that?
I guess I'm good for the banter. I mean,
Boston Woody banter.
As someone who isn't one of the leaders of the bands, I mean, like Matt and Jordan, I always joke around and tell people like Matt and Jordan are the Sons of Paradise, and I'm just the guitar player in the band.
Right.
But I as like a tier down maybe. I think it's good that Matt's never telling me the guitar solo should sound just like this and go deedly deedly do. We trust I can make the deedly doos sound good and then critique it along the way, which I think is cool because if someone was telling me what to do, I'd have a really tough time with it personally, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I think they both trust guys like me and Storm and Matt Corey, like do your thing and then we'll go from there and figure it out along the way, which is cool because that's how I would want it to be if I had to choose. So
absolutely. Well, that's better. I grew up. I started playing bass in a band, and my guitar player Dwayne, the guy who asked me to play bass, he's like, "You're not really that good of a bass player, but you're funny. So whenever things go south, you say something stupid, it makes everybody laugh." I was like, "So that's why I'm in the band?" He's like, "Pretty much." All right, man. Thanks, I'll take that.
You kind of like that.
Yeah, we'll take good vibes and someone who's down to like work at it and is a good person to be around versus like the most talented guy.
Yeah.
Sure.
We like super talented
Been down
members
that
in the
road.
past, and yeah, they sound great, but are they easy to work with? Do they see the vision? No, then it doesn't make sense.
Yep. Absolutely. I'm totally with you on that 100%, man. So, looking back, at your journey from local gigs to national stages, you drove across country to be in Vegas on Rise Up. What's one moment that made you go, "Holy shit, man, we're doing this"?
Well, I think maybe, I don't know if you told the story, but when we were on our way to Reggae Rise Up Vegas, we got word that we were invited back to do Reggae Rise Up in Florida. And that was a fun moment in the van because you're kind of just driving. And we didn't have a radio in our van.
Yeah, the
we
radio
were driving
network.
across the country, which you think would be insane for a band to drive across the country.
Yeah, right.
We have one now. We have one.
Yeah.
It doesn't work anymore, but yeah, we do have one now. Oh, it does
That's
work.
work.
The next time. But yeah, I just remember, Jordan freaking out. And I'm like, what's the matter?
Yeah, I was driving and I got an email. I shouldn't have been looking at my email, but
Someone else
I do the same thing, bro. I really do.
email, and it had a notification, and it was like something that popped up, and it was very important. And I opened it, and I just started smacking the shit out of the steering wheel. And everyone's like, "What is going on? What's wrong?" And I was like, "Reggae Rise Up Florida. We just got an offer."
That's awesome, dude.
It honestly took a lot of pressure off, like the Reggae Rise Up Vegas, because we knew we had another shot at this if we didn't do our absolute, like, if we like fucked up somehow.
Right. It was our first time playing a stage like that, and there's so much more that goes into it than like I had thought.
There's so much more that goes into it than just a normal venue show.
Like they're calling me the night before, like, okay, who's your stage manager? Who's your tour manager? Who's this and that? I'm like, we don't have any of that. That's all us.
Yeah, it's
We have an intern,
Yeah.
Yep.
couple stage hands,
So
and then the other cool thing about that was we were the very first band to play at the Vegas one. In Florida, I think we played like the third day, which was cool.
Nice.
But this one, we were the very first one on the small stage. We were just happy to be there.
Yes, amen.
The way that they do the sound checks is like the final bands get the sound check. So on the main stage, Slightly Stupid was sound checking. And on our stage, the side stage, it's just a little bit smaller. Cypress Hill was the final band of the day.
Oh,
so
dope.
they were supposed to do that sound check. But for whatever reason, they didn't get there in time, or they were going to show up later. So as the openers, we did the sound check, which is really cool. So we're on stage getting everything ready, just waiting for Slightly Stupid to finish sound checking, which is a really cool experience. They're literally on the stage right next to us. Because at Florida, the stages are on the opposite ends, and Vegas, they're right next to each other.
Oh, right on.
Right when Stupid got done sound checking, we're on to sound check. And we're sound checking Backroads, the song that's dropping on 5:30. And we knew that song was going to be a hit because coming out of the corner of our eye, we see Kyle from Slightly Stupid come running towards our stage. He's videotaping us. He's like, "Damn,
oh, hell yeah."
So we're all looking at each other like, yeah, we got something
cool.
here. So that was a sick moment. And we got that validation from like one of the fathers of the scene.
Oh, that's fucking bad, dude. Right on.
And then we played our set, about an hour later.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. I didn't realize the stages were so close in Vegas.
Kind of nice, honestly.
It's nice as someone that's like playing and attending it at the same time.
Right.
You can kind of go the back way around and just like, in Florida, you do so much walking.
Long.
Oh, yeah. It takes an hour, especially with the crowd. If you're an attendee,
Yeah,
good
it's
God,
so
man.
long on the other side. And the way they did when we did Reggae Rise Up Florida, we didn't have like our own green room, which is kind of like, we're happy to be there. Like, we're not going to complain about it. It was a cool opportunity. Like, we would play it every single time it ever happens, 100%.
Certainly.
Vegas, the way it was set up is there's this big building right behind the stages, and all of the bands are in this same area with these like sectioned off areas.
Oh,
and
right
we're all meeting each other. Like, we're right next to Common
cool.
Kings, right next to
that's cool.
right next to Tropidella,
Article,
all the people that were performing that day, with the exception of like the biggest guys, are all in their own little sections, and it was really, really cool to have that moment.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Kind kind of blend with everybody. Yeah, I'm getting to that point as media, where I can actually, now I'm getting the passes where I can get in and film a couple of the bands that I sign up to film exclusively, but I'm getting to the point where I'll be able to kind of be back there and meet everybody, which I'm definitely looking forward to as well. That's neat.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, the experience, whether being in a band or coming from the media side, I think it's probably the same. It's like, holy shit, I'm actually standing in front of these guys that have kind of paved my path for me. So that's really cool, man. How do you stay grounded and balanced with the pace of touring, recording, and building a fan base? I just have a little podcast, and I know promoting this is difficult. You guys you're touring, you're recording new songs, you're definitely building that fan base. Like, how do you choose what you're going to do each day,
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're always just looking towards the future and like what needs to get done. And it's just not even a thought. It's just, okay, yeah, we're going to get this done today. We're going to practice. We're going to shoot content. We're going to record. I mean, now, unfortunately, we have to have content to go along with all our songs. We can't just be and record and play live. Like, we have to be filmers and actors and all this stuff now. So,
fun and not fun at the same time.
Yeah. We try to make it fun, but
sure.
There's a bunch of other things. So like, we just we have a calendar, a band calendar, and we just put stuff on there. Like this weekend, we know we're going to take a day and just all day we're going to film content.
Awesome.
Like we had this podcast.
This was on the docket for today.
We had to announce Backroads. We had to create a pre-save link. We have to do a bunch of stuff for that release. We have to get things approved, submit to distribution, reorder merch.
Right.
Luckily, we divide and conquer a lot. Jordan handles so much of the business, and it helps so much because
that's cool.
I do all that. And I'm lucky. I have the studio. We're actually in the studio right now, and it's in my house. So
nice.
Like I can literally roll out of bed and just come down, lay down vocals, work on tracks, whatever I need to do.
Dude, he does all the content. Like he actually edits the content. He has a professional camera and like a professional equipment. So we don't have to hire anyone to like do our content or our editing.
Yeah, we do pretty much everything in-house.
And we, Matt records us all here. I have a little recording set up as well. So when it comes like putting out stuff, we are working with the producer, Josh.
Saldate.
Yeah, Josh Saldate.
He's the man.
But he's just mixing it where it's like tracking, recording, producing, putting out content. Wow. We figured out how to run our own ads for stuff. So
yeah, as I'm sure know with the podcast, it's like you can't just be the podcaster. You got to do all these other things.
You got to know
Thank God I have my wife, or nobody would know about my podcast. She does all the reels and shit, dude.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, but man, so you guys are straight up. You're doing it all, man. You're DIY. That's great.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just like we're lucky in this genre. You have like kind of a straightforward trajectory and a straightforward path to success. Because it's not a super like big scene. It's not super saturated.
Right.
And basically what we do is try to just look at what the guys who are on a level above us, or a couple levels above us, and watch what they're doing and learn from them.
Smart.
They have so much advice. If you're actually willing to listen and not have an ego in those conversations like some artists do.
Right.
If you're willing to listen, they'll give you incredible advice, and they've been there and they've done it. So that's what we've done, is really listen to the advice that's been given to us.
Amen. Yeah, and good call on that, dissolving the ego, man. That's the only way you're going to learn, straight up. I have to do it every single day. So, thank you so much for sharing that. That's awesome, man. There's a lot more work that goes into doing what you guys are doing than just recording music and putting tracks out, especially when you're DIYing it like yourselves. Yeah, that's incredible, man. My hat's off to you. That's a lot of fucking work. So what's one piece of advice that you would give to young bands just starting out today, especially in, I would say the reggae industry, but you actually answered the question one way that no other bands have answered it. When I've asked them if they did it on purpose or if they blended the genres, they're like, no, it was just natural. You actually said you were it was a conscious thing. You were doing it on purpose. What's some advice that you would give to somebody who's trying to come in, create their own sound, but still kind of still kind of make it, you know?
I'll take it.
Make it their own, I guess. Kind of like, well, pretty much what you guys have done.
I mean, I think you need to be honest with your quality.
Right.
I think a lot of bands are out there, and this was us. There's a couple albums we took down. If it's not great, if it's not something that's going to change someone's life, it's not going to be good enough. You're not going to go anywhere with it.
Right.
You need to be honest with the quality, and the music needs to come first and foremost over trying to go out and waste your time going across the country playing shows.
Sure.
Like, you have to have the music first. And what I see a lot of bands doing is they're too worried about the shows. They're too worried about getting on this support thing. They're too worried about playing this bar, making this quick $500. And they're frustrated to why they aren't getting on bigger shows, why they're not selling any tickets. And you go and they don't have any type of following on Spotify. They don't have music any decent. They haven't put out a song in years. They've only put out a handful of songs. Like, every single band that is at the position that we're trying to get to has such a big catalog of music, but it's not just a catalog of shitty music. It's a catalog of like incredible songs.
Right. 100%.
And tons of collabs, and like they've had so much exposure. And all those bands are on the stage for a reason. They're not there just because they went out and did it. They're there because they're the best.
Amen.
So I think a lot of artists don't see the reality of what you have to do to get there until they're doing it, because we didn't.
Yeah.
Right. I really like you guys, man. You're honest. I love that, you know? You're like, you know, we set out with intention. You're like straight up. Have music, have quality. You know, most people are like, just do your own fucking thing, whatever, make it work. You're like, no, it's...
Yeah. I mean, there's the few people out there that are just going to be really good.
Right.
Or really lucky.
Or really lucky.
There you go.
Like, Stick Figure is probably the biggest band in the scene. Like, I mean, he would even say his first album sucks.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it's just bad. And if you listen to the quality of that he's done and gotten better with, like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of these artists like have taken down their first albums,
Right?
Because they just aren't very good. And it's like
those tracks with Prince Fatty last year, Stick Figure. That was
that's so cool.
God damn, dude! I can't stop listening to it still. You know, I'm like, man.
Off from the scene, but you have to be honest with yourself, and we were not honest with ourselves for a while.
Right.
And if it's not good, if it's not something that you want out there forever, like, it's not going to hurt anyone to take it down.
Right.
And go back to the drawing page and invest. Like, not just invest money, but like invest your time to actually learning the skills of how to do it.
Right. Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess it only takes one, you know, effed up song on a playlist for someone to be like, the hell is this? You know, yep, not listening to them anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I think overall you're judged in music, fortunately, on your best stuff and not your worst stuff overall.
Right.
But you have to have that best stuff that's actually good.
Absolutely. 100%, man. And speaking of best stuff, thank you guys so much for taking time out of your night to come on, man. You guys are an absolute trip. This was a fun podcast. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was an absolute blast having you guys on. I know you're very busy, so
dude, thank you.
Nice.
That's on. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely, man. From when I first hit you up until now, the interaction was nothing but pleasure. So it was fantastic the entire way. Thank you guys once again so much for coming on Hippie Fari Reggae Radio and podcast. Is there any last words before we sign off that you want to shout out to the fans? Give us like some socials, obviously your website. Where can we find merch, all that good stuff?
You want to do all that?
Yeah, just like sonsofparadise.com. There's some merch on there. We're announcing some summer shows here very shortly.
Beautiful.
We will be down in Florida. We already have
right on.
Daytona Reggae at the Rock announced. We're going to be announcing a couple more Florida shows that weekend. So we're excited about that. Facebook.com/Sons of Paradise. Instagram is at Sons of Paradise Music. YouTube.com/Sons of Paradise. TikTok.com/Sons of Paradise.
Nice.
They're all the main ones.
Beautiful. And we got Backroads dropping this Friday. I think it's the best song I've ever written. Probably the best song I've ever been a part of. So we're really, really stoked for that one. We really hope people check it out.
And you can find that on our page, our Spotify page, or Cashed Out Spotify page.
Nice.
So co-release. So we're super stoked on that.
That's cool, man. I'm definitely looking forward to meeting you guys personally. I'm going to be media at Reggae at the Rock. So if you don't mind, I'll get like a quick 10, 15-minute short, how was your show interview with you there too. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For sure, man. Definitely.
That'd be awesome, man. Definitely looking forward to meeting you guys in person. If it's as fun as this was, then it's going to be pretty fun.
It'll be more fun.
Yeah, it'll be even better.
We'll be all hyped up post-show.
We'll have some drinks in us.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you guys once again so much. It was an absolute pleasure for having you on the podcast, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing you again in August at Reggae at the Rock, and looking forward to your new track coming out this Friday. Can't wait, man.
Yeah,
so there's strength in unity. Build your community. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on TikTok. Shoot me an email, hippieFariReggae@gmail.com. I am the only Hippie Fari in the entire world. I'm really easy to find. That's my handle for every single social media platform. This is Scotty, the high-strung hippie, and Kira, the Irie Empress, reminding you to speak your mind before somebody else does it for you. And do something nice for somebody today. Grab flowers for your partner. Smoke out a stranger. Slip the homeless man a buck. But whatever you do it from the heart. Because all good things start with the heart. The peace, love, and roster rhythms are all a part of that reggae revolution. One love, fam.